Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to the launch of Boy. My name is Heather Wood, and I'm a publicist with Dundurn Press. We're so proud to be launching this wonderful, wonderful book tonight. It's my job basically to just introduce you to our amazing host. And that is Jamie Tennant. A longtime music enthusiast, Jamie Tennant has covered music and pop culture both locally and nationally. He is the program director at 93.3 CFMU FM and the host and producer of the literature program Get Lit. In 2016, he published his debut novel, The Captain of Canoe Hill, and he has a new one tentatively planned for the fall of 2021. Please welcome Jamie.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate the introduction. Welcome, everybody, to this strange time. This is not how we would normally gather to celebrate Brent's book, but it is, and it's going to be great. Some of us have even decorated things around the house for this. So thanks to everyone for showing up to support Brent, and we'll talk about his book, Boy. We want to thank also all the folks in Dundurn and Elise and the friends and family, everyone who's here. I read this book, Boy, to get prepared to actually ask some questions, and I really, truly enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to Brent about some of the thoughts behind it, some of the origins of things, and some of the other elements of the book that maybe he hasn't had a chance to discuss in public yet, so that's kind of cool. And of course, everyone, just relax, chill, it's a super casual thing, have a drink if you want, doesn't have to be the orange color theme. Doesn't have to be. Certainly get a beverage. We're going to probably toast at some point. You know, have snacks. And if you're not fully dressed, we'd never know. I just want you to know, jeans, I'm good. Don't worry. It's all okay over here. But before we begin, a little bit more seriousness, if we could for a second. I want to do a land acknowledgement for this. The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas. The land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase, 1792, between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, or North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. And of course, recognizing that many of you with us tonight will be watching from other places, we encourage you to learn about the traditional territories and peoples of the land you reside upon as well. So what we're going to do now is introduce Brent.
Hi.
And hey, man.
Hello.
Let me give a little bio for Brent. Brent is the author of, as I mentioned, Boy. You can see it in the background there, as well as the forthcoming book, Nothing But Life, and Saints Unexpected, another great book I've had the privilege of reading, as well as another forthcoming story, because Brent apparently is a machine, short story collection called Cut Road coming out as well. I got to ask you after this is done how you do that, because, I mean, what's happening here? Do you sleep? His short fiction has won the Bristol Short Story Prize, the Fiddlehead Best Fiction Award, and the Lush Triumphant Literary Award. That's a really impressive sounding one, the Lush Triumphant Literary Award, and numerous others. He calls himself a recovering high school English teacher, army medic, tree planter, and overnight radio host. So we have that in common, of course. Brent now finds himself wandering around looking for stories, working at the Hamilton Public Library, and figuring out what it means to be a family guy. And I can vouch for that because I see him in the neighborhood with the family every once in a while over by McMaster there, riding bikes and going for runs. He lives in Hamilton with his wife, Rosalie, and their daughters, Nora and Alida. Brent.
Hello. Well, thanks, Jamie. What a privilege is to have you here. It's
thanks, man.
This is exciting. This is really exciting.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, my camera is not a little fuzzy. You got this nice sharp image. I don't have that, but you know. Brent, you were going to, I think, actually introduce and thank the players at this point. Then I was going to do some housekeeping.
Yeah, so just while we've got everybody here, it's, as I said, it's such a privilege to be here. And so many people go into not only putting a book out, but also to helping me publicize my book. And so first of all, I want to thank Heather Wood, my publicist from Dundurn. She's doing a stellar job. I want to thank Elise, who's here, Elise Arsenal. I want to thank Jason and Rachel from Relay Coffee, who are not here with us at this point, but I'm sure they're here in spirit. Jamie Krakowski from Epic Books, my bookseller, we had to shift gears for this. We had a big in-person launch planned, of course, pre-pandemic. Thank my brother Dennis, who is running the show technically, as well as my sister Sharon, who she's going to be monitoring comments, on which you can see on your left-hand side there, looking for questions that we might get to towards the end. So thanks everybody for being here and being a part of my launch. It's really, really, really exciting. Thank you.
Now, before we get into it, Brent, there's a couple of housekeeping things that we wanted to discuss. Book sales in Hamilton, you can, of course, go to Epic Books. As we mentioned, Jamie is with us. They're on Lock Street, or you can go to epicbooks.ca. They're also on Sherman Avenue North, because there's the Epic, the sequel.
The sequel, that's right. Yeah.
Which is very cool. Boy, of course, is available everywhere, online, anywhere that you order books in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. So after tonight, you're going to be so jazzed about hearing more that you're going to want to pick it up. So remember that information. The second thing is there are door prizes. I guess you could put door in air quotes, but there's door prizes. Relay Coffee has donated a gift basket of organic fair trade coffees and teas. This is for Hamilton area residents. Unfortunately, Brent's going to deliver, I believe, which is kind of cool.
I am.
But that's kind of the author will come to your door with coffee and maybe sign a book. I don't know. That could happen, right? For those from away, though, Dundurn Press has put together a 3-book package that they will mail to the winner. So wherever you're watching this, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, look below for the link. There should be a link below. I'll point down
in the description or somewhere nearby. Yeah.
I'm not one of those YouTube guys who's really good at pointing where the things actually are. So I'm going to guess down. And or if you prefer, you can enter your name and email, whether you're from Hamilton, in the comments section. So please feel free to do that. In terms of receiving the door prize, we won't be able to there's no hat to draw from. So it won't be tonight, but Brent will personally be in touch. Correct?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
The other thing, too, is you mentioned the comments. Don't forget that there is a place to make comments. And, of course, while we're doing this, think about questions that you might have about the book, about the reading, about the process, about Brent recovering from being a high school teacher, how that's going, all kinds of questions.
Fashion advice.
Fashion advice.
Yes, absolutely. Anything you feel we need to know. We have somebody, Sharon is watching for those comments. So
exactly.
We'll get read.
Yes, and at the end, we can take some questions from you, the viewing audience. So let's get to the first reading. A little bit about Boy. Boy is about Boy, yes, that's his name. And Boy's in his final year of high school, and everything was set to go the way that everyone wanted it to go for Boy. He was going to go to military school. Everything was great. But it kind of all falls apart. And what he does is he befriends a fellow named Mara, a homeless man who seems to have the ability to start and stop time. It's a mysterious and powerful gift, and the story goes from there. It's kind of a coming-of-age story in many ways. It's quite funny. It's quite serious. It can be a little dark, I find, in a good way. Very thoughtful, and there are just enough elements that seem a little bit supernatural to make you to get you thinking. So, Brent, what section are you going to read from first?
Well, I'm going to read from the section where Boy goes to visit his father, Cornelius, for the first time in the penitentiary. Cornelius, he calls him Corny. Corny's been in prison for 12 years after killing 3 people in a drunken car accident, including Boy's older sister, Charlie, who's in the story as well in a kind of a fun, unexpected way. So it's been 12 years since he's seen his own father, and this is the scene where he sees him in prison for the first time. for those following along. Page 123. Before another heavy door, the guard pauses to adjust his uniform ball cap. Boy reaches up, too, toward his own long-absent wedge cap, a subconscious gesture. Idleness is uselessness, to be avoided at all times. Nerves are easily distracted and concealed by attending to the details. The perch of the headdress, the hang of the tunic, the shine of the boots, dress and deportment like a dust-free, pressed armor. The hall takes a final turn before entering a large room with gray cubicles lining the far side. Inside each, a metal stool is fixed to the floor beneath a narrow counter. Black telephone handsets rest in bolted-down cradles at the right side of each space. Thick, greenish glass looks through to an identical room on the other side, the same color scheme and depressing lighting, with only the glimpse of bars on the door differentiating the view. Each stall deep enough that, from the door, he's unable to see which of them is occupied. "Number 7, the guard says, and sits at a steel desk near the door. Boy moves down the numbered spaces, all empty, and stops in front of the empty cubicle. "Guard?" "Yes." "When will he be here?" "Not long. They called him as soon as you cleared security." Boy sits, the metal stool slowly warming under his backside. The hall is quiet, with only the distant industrial humming of ventilation and other internal building processes. The guard's chair creaks as he rustles papers across his desk. There's a low murmuring from somewhere off to his right. The other visitor, he assumes, farther down. Boy reaches into his pocket again for his phone, catches himself, shakes his head, and places his hands between his knees to keep from fidgeting. Charlie remains against the wall right behind him, her loose sweater reflected brightly in the glass. Charlie is Boy's sister's ghost. Waiting. He's never been good at it, preferring an organized, bustling life even when it means a lack of downtime. The exception is the place on the rocks, but even there, his mind is often unable to slow down, even as his body is soothed by the action of the waves. He traces his silhouetted reflection in the dark green glass, trying to discern his own features within his body shape. At home, sitting in the kitchen table on a cloudy day, the glass of the sliding doors that overlook the backyard creates the same effect. On a bright day, if he's wearing a white shirt, or at night when the vertical blinds are open and he has the light on his face, he might see himself. When he was a recruit, his cadet instructors sent them home with a homework assignment to interview their parents. Find out about their decision-making processes. Learn something new about your own home, they said. Boy could have gotten out of the assignment by playing the dead sister, father in prison, grieving mother card, but he was eager to please his new comrades. The plan was to ambush Misty before she dove into her gin, but he chose a night where she decided to work late. Work late were her words, of course. The sickly sweet smell of breathed alcohol, the slurred speech, the bloodshot eyes told a different story. No, let's do this, she said. And Boy had sat with her at the table for almost an hour as she rambled, her reflected movements in the door's glass exaggerated and dark. There's movement on the other side of the penitentiary glass. Boy sits up straight and rests his elbow on the shallow ledge, which is perhaps a foot deep, and watches as a guard points at the stool opposite before moving to stand at the rear wall. A tall, gaunt figure appears, dressed in a loose sweater and jeans. His hair is threaded through with gray, and he wears a pair of thick, too large glasses. He sits and looks at Boy for a long moment. Boy can't decide which surprising feature to rest his eyes upon. How thin the man is, his gray and curly hair, the thickness of the glasses frame, or the wrinkled face behind them, or the clothes. Why had he assumed there would be a prison uniform? The man reaches for the handset and brings it to his ear. Boy does the same. Mirror images in the thick glass, a father contained within the reflected outline of a son. You've changed, Boy says. That's it. Thanks.
Well, let's get to a couple questions about the book.
Sure.
And the first big one is Boy. Why Boy? Names in general in this book you seem to have taken care to have some unique names. in the book. And they're obviously not just throwaway names. You don't give your main character in the title of your book that title without meaning something. So why was this the direction you went with the name of the character?
Well, the sort of the basic on the surface level is that his mother, Misty, who is a real mess in the book, she gave him the name Boy after Boy George, an 80s pop star, of course. But I think it works on a number of other levels as well. Boy is growing up. He's right on that cusp between boyhood and manhood. And so his name is a way of sort of making him pause in boyhood almost. So it works on that level. He also meets a young lady who's named Shu. That's how you pronounce it. But on the page, it looks like she, which provides a nice counterpoint, boy and she, visually on the page as well. So yeah, there's a few reasons. I've also got a penchant for unusual names, as I did in my first novel and in the novel to come as well. Yeah.
Well, Cornelius is like a slightly uncommon name, but the short form Corny is kind of a hilarious name somehow. And the mother character, Misty, that name seems to fit her somehow. I can't explain why. And Mara, was there a source for that name as well?
Well, assuming I can trust Google, and assume I did find a couple of references to Mara, and it means time. Wow, that was so long ago. I think. No, I'm not even going to try. But it's in another language. I don't want to misquote, and it means time. And that was a very early name that I picked. In fact, the name was a bit on the nose at first, and I wasn't going to keep it. It was going to be a name in progress. But after a while, it just that's it. It works. It works. Yeah, and now I've laid myself bare that the name actually means time. So.
And the reason that Boy's name is significant to me as a reader is because this is a book full of either good, bad, or potential parental figures. You've got Mara, who's like a potential father figure. Whether it works out that way or not, readers will find out. You have two parents, both of whom were not particularly good at the parenting job. One who seems to be trying to change that. You've got Cynthia, who is like a grandparent who's taking on a parental role. And you've got Boy, who takes on the parental role of Jay, his younger half-brother. How much you even say in your bio, talking about becoming a family guy, you're thinking about family, it's in you, it's an important part of your life. How much of that was alive in you while you wrote this book?
Yeah, I think the dynamic between family members is always an area that's ripe for writing content. There's so much conflict, there's so much goodness, there's so much history there that it really just provides such a wonderful opportunity to dig into their psyches and into what they do, the decisions they make. When I first drafted the novel, it was for my master's through the University of British Columbia back in 2014. I think I started drafting the novel, and I was a new dad as well. And so writing about Jay, and ordinarily I don't think of myself as an explicitly autobiographical writer, I couldn't help it. I found myself writing about those blown out diapers, those little sounds that kids make against their parents when they're comforted or not comforted. And so Jay also, that family dynamic of being the caretaker. And I love the complication that he's not the dad, but he's really trying. Boy is not the dad, and he's really stepping up to help his mom, who, to give her credit, she does try from time to time. She's just, she's got her demons and she's got her issues as well, and he's trying to help her out, and he's stepped up. I really enjoyed that. I loved giving Boy the agency to be able to help a baby. I just thought that was great. How many 18-year-olds get a chance to help a baby survive, right? And so, yeah, so there's a number of different levels there, but I really enjoyed the family dynamics in this one. And just as a writer, putting them all through a little bit of hell, building the conflict and making them grumpy at each other, because families are occasionally grumpy at each other. Yeah. And in this case, this family has just gone through so much. And Boy is just at the point, he's like, how do I take all of that trauma, all of that experience, the negative experiences, the positive experiences, how do I cement that into where I'm going and what I'm going to become?
Cool. That's great. Great answer.
Thank you.
So We are now going to take a break from us talking book stuff to make this more of a multimedia experience. We're going to welcome someone that you know quite well. Her name is Elise Arsenault. Hello, Elise. Elise is an award-winning songwriter, a poet, nonfiction writer, and she has a really deep love of Hamilton, Ontario. Her latest release is called This Is a Reunion, and explores themes of home and belonging with a poet's eye and an earthy sound. It is best enjoyed with headphones at dusk on an aimless walk around the city, but you're going to enjoy some of it. I guess if the song is from the album, I do not know.
I don't know either.
We're going to find out. So let's pass it on to Elise.
Album afterwards for everybody.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This first song actually is not part of the EP. Oh, I don't know if you can hear me still. But yes, that's the record right there that was released last June. And now, yeah, the song that I'm playing was written pre-COVID, but it still feels new to me. It's called Outside In, and I think I'll actually be more at ease if I take these off for it. But yeah, so here's a new song for you. Oh, the hands of time have got a grip on mine, and we dance a strange dance. Oh, the clock, it talks, all the windows unlock, but I find I can't. Oh, to cut my teeth for the upcoming feast, I need to bite my tongue. Were your words white birds in the horizon blurred? Would I run from them? 'Cause here we are finding ourselves from the outside in, searching under every stone for what has always been. Waiting. Oh, my thumb's not green, my song not serene, still a garden grows here. A rose bed is made, come and evade the shade we have known all year. 'Cause here we are finding ourselves from the outside in, searching under every stone for what has always been. Our days are quick like sand. Our days are quick like sand. Our days are quick like sand. One of these days we'll understand. Stand, hey. 'Cause here we are finding ourselves from the outside in, searching under every stone for what has always been there before the rings of time spun into oblivion. The parts of us we cannot see, the tried, the true, the evergreen, the sacred, timeless, resounding, quiet, the light under our skin. Oh, let it awaken, oh, let it awaken, awaken.
That was great. We're going to hear some more. We're going to hear another song from Elise in just a little while. My script has, we're do a reading and then come, we're going to remind you about the door prizes and stuff, have another question and then come back. But that was great. So thank you so much, Elise. Really appreciate your being here for this tonight. And This Is a Reunion by Elise Arsenault is the record. So follow that link and get that music. Just a quick reminder, door prizes, click on the link wherever it is, somewhere on your screen, or in the comments, type your name and your email and where you live as well, so we know whether you're a Hamilton winner or not. And we will pick one as soon as we can. Well, not we. It'll be the folks on the other end of this. And you will get your prize in the mail or personally delivered from Brent. So make sure you do that. And comment as well if you so desire. Lots of comments coming in, lots of congratulations for Brent. So I don't blame them. Now, basically, I think we're going to, I think there might be a script Schnagel happening where I have a different script maybe than somebody else does, because I believe we were supposed to go back to Brent, but I don't want to mess this up. So okay, good. See, I'm not good at this. I have a radio thing, but there's like video and I'm all confused. I'm usually just like in a room doing what I want.
Yeah.
No one can see me, you know.
I get it. Sitting in front of a computer writing a book or something like that.
Exactly. Right? We'll be back to Elise. So we got another track coming after this one question. But
thanks, Elise. I'm just gonna the question. That was amazing. That was wow, sounded wonderful. Thanks, Elise. I also, just before the question, Jamie, I totally forgot earlier. I am not following my script. I'm probably just nerves or something like that. I'm just kind of waiting for people to put me on the screen so I can blah, 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 blah. But what I would like to do at this moment, I just do want to raise a toast to everybody who is with us in backstage, who are helping me out with the launch, but also to everybody at home. Cheers to you for being here. Cheers. Yeah, there's a bunch of people there.
The whole gang.
Right. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks.
All right, and it's bad luck not to have a sip after you do a toast. So,
well, that's probably true. Exactly. So,
back to you, Jamie. Thank you so much.
Quick question. This is, like, to oversimplify it a lot, this is a coming of age novel. Now, on one side, it goes pretty dark. You deal with some very, very serious issues, and some very serious things happen to our protagonist. And at the same time, you have chosen to include these elements that are, as I've said before, supernatural elements, for lack of a better word. I wouldn't call it, magical realism. It's just like realism in a world where these things happen. Why did you want to, and I think there's some of that in Saints Unexpected too. Why do you enjoy doing that sort of thing? Kind of combining like a kind of gritty-ish world story in the real world with these elements that are, fantastical.
I think one, because it's fun to do as a writer. I just throwing these elements that are hopefully kind of spun in a new way. That's just fun. I like reading unexpected things. And so generally that's my rule. My guiding light for writing is that I write what I like to read. And I hope other people will like to read as well. I think in terms of the magical realism or fabulism, or, those elements that they're present, but they're not explained or dwelt upon a whole lot. I just really like the idea that there's things like that happening in the world, on a spiritual sense or on a metaphysical sense, on a spectral sense. I just like that idea. Whether or not it's actually happening, whether or not, people believe in ghosts or angels or people who can seemingly stop and restart time at will. I like the idea that there are things happening beyond our immediate perception. And they're just also part of the fabric of the world, right? And that's what I really enjoy about it. It's just woven through as though it's every day. I mean, of course, it's not every day, but it's just there. And I did that in Saints as well.
But it's something that you can use as an author to complement or guide your themes as well, which of course is important. I mean, there's the stopping time has a lot of a deeper meaning at this point in Boy's life. Yeah,
it does. It's sort of in retrospect, putting this book together, looking at all of the examples of time that has been stopped, right? I mean, his sister's ghost looks the way she does the day she died. Corny is in prison and he looks different, but really time from a lot of accounts, time does stop, when people are in prison in some ways, and Misty can't let go of her demons, and all of these things that just people don't move forward, they don't move back, they're stuck in this idea of stopping time. And it's a lot of, and it's fun. It's just fun. It's a fun thing, and it works thematically, I think, because we all experience times like that where we're stuck in a moment. Sometimes, to use the old cliche, it seems like an eternity in those moments, bad ones in particular. We all have them, and I think that makes it a universal that a lot of people could appreciate as they're reading, regardless of which scenario in the book where that's taking place. So I hope I answered that question. I felt a little
absolutely,
random.
absolutely, good. You did, absolutely, and well even. So there you go. That was good. I'm going to have at least one more question for you, but first, I believe we're going to throw it back to Elise.
Yay!
She's got another song for us this evening. Elise, welcome back. Tell us what you got up for us in the next song.
So this is a fun one. So when Brent initially graciously invited me to join in on this event a while ago, he said, also, there is this kind of thread of 80s music in the novel. And so if you wanted to, maybe would you play a cover, like an 80s song cover? And he sent a handful of songs and kind of left it with me. And I haven't told him what I'm doing, but here is a
I know, I'm so excited.
Song for you this evening. Here we go. It's been folkified, but it's an 80s song. Desert love in your eyes all the way. If I listen to your lie, would you say I'm a man without conviction? Oh, I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and go, you come and go. Karma, karma, karma chameleon. Oh, you come and go, oh, you come and go. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dream. Red, gold, and green. Red, gold, and green. Didn't hear your wicked words every day. You used to be so sweet. I heard you say that my love was an addiction. Oh, when we claim our love is strong, but when you go, you're gone forever. You string along, you string along. Karma, karma, karma chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dream. Red, gold, and green. Red, gold, and green. And every day is like a survival. You're my lover, not my rival. And every day is like a survival. You're my lover, not my rival. And I'm a man without conviction. Oh, I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and you go, you come and you go. Karma, karma, karma chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dream. Red, gold, and green. 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 is. Boy
There it
George.
is. Nice. And thematically appropriate. That was pretty great. Well done, Elise.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. And it's by Boy George and Culture
Exactly.
Club. And
There you
Perfect.
have it.
I might even like it better than the original. I know it's dangerous to say, but Elise, thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was
Be a
excellent.
Wow.
Brent, you have talented friends and family. That's all I can say.
This is what I'm saying. Wow. And we are actually recording this too, and I'm so excited that I'll get to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great.
And there are lots of people, lots of congratulations coming your way, and well deserved. So
cool. Well, it's
so
nice to hear.
good
I
job.
don't have it up on my screen. I didn't want to get distracted, but
That's fair.
thank you, everyone.
That's
This
fair.
is wonderful, and I'm having so much fun. And this is so cool.
Now, I want to remind you out there as well that I've been asking all these questions. I got one more, and then we're going to throw it over to Sharon. She's going to take some questions from you folks. So if you have a question, please feel free to make the comment, put the question in the comments, and we'll go from there. So, but before we do that, we just talked about, before that great rendition of the Culture Club song, we talked about the fantastical elements in the book. Switching to the other elements, the serious parts of the story, and the story of Boy, what he's going through. Where did this character even come from for you? He is going through some, as you said before, you talked about us all having the experience of time stopping. And there's a lot of universal things that he's going through, but also he's kind of a unique character at the same time. I was wondering how this character, did he come to you fully formed? Did you know who Boy was before you started writing the book? Did you have the idea for the story and he grew out of that? Where did Boy come from?
A little bit of everything. My first image that I had with regards to starting to think about telling a new story was the image of a man living under the highway on a culvert. And at that point, I didn't know what kind of person he was. I had no idea, other than that he was homeless, and then I started to be thinking that perhaps he had some. He was running from things in his former life, which I'm not going to say too much about. I don't want to do any spoilers, but
Yeah.
and then I just, well, okay, I've got this guy under the highway. How do I build his character by bringing somebody else in who can help him learn about himself as well? And then the next image that I had was while I was thinking about that culvert under the QEW, which for everybody who's not from local area is one of the large highways right along Lake Ontario here. I started to picture a tall, really skinny guy with his legs dangling on rocks next to the water, close by to this culvert, and completely unaware of this man living that rough life under the highway, just feet away from him. And that's where Boy came from. And then I started, naturally, as a writer, started thinking about what kind of hard time I could put him through, because that's the key to good fiction, I think, is conflict. And so I was like, well, why is he having a tough time? What put him on those rocks, essentially? And then the idea of getting a letter to his favorite school, RMC, came up, and he's done everything right, and he's crushed his exams. He's, midterm exams, that is. He's crushed his exams, and he's done all the stuff in cadets that he's supposed to do, and he's gotten an acceptance to RMC for what they call the full ride, which means the whole thing's paid for. You get a salary, and when you're done, you get a career in the military, and everything was all lined up. And then I realized, but that was too easy, and so Boy became Boy, the troubled 18-year-old. What's more troublesome than somebody who's thrown himself or herself into something so passionate, like, and in this case, it's Boy is cadets. He's thrown himself into it for so long. What would it be like to lose that? Not by choice. And so in real life, I was actually an air cadet when I was much younger. But at 18, you have to resign. You're not allowed to be a cadet older than 18. Of course, the goal for them is to hopefully send people to the military or to public service or something like that. And that's what it's all about. Or to become a pilot or whatever. But you have to quit. He's reached the highest rank that you can possibly attain in cadets. So he's got everything. And that's Boy. And but he doesn't have everything. And that's where the fun, quote unquote, fun of writing a book, saying, well, why is he losing everything? Why is everything in risk for him? So yeah, when I started to think about a cadet, I was able to build in a lot of stuff from my own life when I was much younger. Of course, cadets changed a lot. So when I started writing Boy, there was a lot that was built in just by the fact that I had that kind of, and again, I was surprised to find my own life creeping its way in again. But that's where Boy came from. Not fully formed, but well formed as soon as I realized what was giving him the most trouble.
It's amazing to me. I talk to a lot of authors and just the places from which characters come and how they form, and it's a fascinating thing. So thank you for answering that question.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now, before we get to your questions out there in, I almost said Radio Land. I'm used to that, I guess, but in Video Land, don't forget about the draw. Please click on the link wherever it might be on your screen and make sure that you do that, or again, make a comment if you can't click on the link and say your name and where you're at, and we're going to get you
and your email address, so that
your email address, of course, very important. And we're going to get you either, if you're in Hamilton, a relay coffee gift, or if you are from outside of town, we're going to mail you a 3-book Dundurn Press package, and Dundurn's a great publisher, so I mean, it's great to get something from them. And Brent's a great author, so if it's all Brent books, that's good too. I'm not sure, actually. So, but we want to go now to somebody else. Sharon has been monitoring the audience questions and comments, and I think we're going to go to her to take some questions. Hi, Sharon.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Sharon. This is my sister.
Not that I'd admit it most of the time, but today particularly proud of my brother. So congrats, Brent.
Thank you.
So we had a question way back at the start from Dolph, who is actually joining from Brazil. If there was a prize for the farthest away participant tonight, Dolph, you would probably win it. And he was going
to be phoning me saying, we did not know we'd have to mail books to Brazil. No worries. Hope, if he wins, no worries.
I think that one's for a hand delivery, right?
I'll have to do it. Yeah.
Dolph was he was asking about the bike and the color orange. Why?
Oh, interesting. The color itself came not as a result of thinking about the bike, but thinking about how it would look under one of those sodium lamps that was, until, in the last few years, ubiquitous. That yellowish, jaundiced street light that we had. And I was trying to think of a color that would kind of act in, how white light or black light makes things pop. Well, that yellow light can make colors pop too. And orange ended up being what I imagined would pop under one of those street lights. And so that's why it was, because near the beginning of the book, he hits his head and he wakes up very disoriented, and he has to walk his bike to the walk-in clinic. And that's where we sort of get this first exposure to this bright, strange color that you get underneath those sodium lamps. And and then I'm going to give a shout out here because I had that image of orange, but I really didn't know orange until the designer of my book, Sophie Pass-Lang, who hopefully she's watching. Thank you, Sophie. Beautiful, beautiful design for my book. Just wow, stunning. I did not know the orange until she put it into that book. And I even got a little emotional when I saw the spine that she imagined, which of course, for those who have, there we go. For those who have, ridden 10 speeds, sort of looking down at those old 10 speeds with the stripes that peels off, and she just nailed it. And so the orange is now hers. And now I know what orange is when it comes to that bike. I couldn't have asked for a better representation of what that color could possibly be.
Awesome. Do you want another one? Want me to ask another one from our audience?
Yeah, I think we got a few minutes. We're going to try and keep this to less than an hour. So we got a few minutes. This will be great.
That sounds good. Okay, so first off, I've been officially told we have someone farther than Brazil. Sorry, Dolph. We have Andrea joining from Mongolia, and also dancing librarian from Portland, Oregon, who is asking us, how long did it take you to write and develop this situation? What was your process?
Well, I had those images first that I mentioned earlier. And once things started to come out of my brain in terms of how these characters were having trouble and the difficulties and the challenges that they were that they needed to overcome in order to make the story successful, or not overcome, because sometimes failure is great in stories too. Then I had to start drafting it. And initially I was drafting it as part of my thesis program for the University of British Columbia. And we would post a chapter at a time for my fellow classmates to look at and critique. So I was sort of doing a chapter a month. So then I was about 6 or 7 chapters in towards the end of the year, well on my way, 7 chapters or so. And then one of my classmates, Jeff Cole, he made a suggestion, and I don't remember exactly what the suggestion was, but it was enough to completely upend everything that I had gone through before. And it had to do with the first scene in the book. I do remember that. And he was saying, well, what if you did this? And I was like, oh, well, I could. Yes, that would be great. Well, great idea. But I can't keep writing the draft I'm writing now, knowing that that's going to be so different at the beginning. So guess what? I had to start again. And so the book has been a number of different drafts like that. I've gone through quite the process. And so first idea, 2013, 2014 to today. So we're talking 6 years, 7 years of process, a couple years of drafting easily, because it was part of my MFA program. But the idea itself, it came, I mean, I don't want to say it's magic, because that's a bit of a cliche. Okay, I'll say it's magic. It's fine. It is magic how these things come together. When I'm in my happy place, when I'm drafting new work, I just love when these situations and everything come together. So even though it took a long time, it didn't feel like a long time. Life felt like a long time. There's that pause again. But yeah, no, it worked really well and came together fairly quickly. Some writers take years and years and years to put together that sort of kernel of a story. This one did not take that long. And I'm thankful for that, because I don't know if I would have the patience to wait any longer.
Awesome.
I hope that answered the question.
I think it does. And then we also had Dave Parkinson asking about your setting for your books. So this is similar to Saints Unexpected, which was also located in Hamilton. Tell us about that. Why Hamilton?
Well, I'm an import to the city. I grew up, most of my childhood was in Ottawa. Yay, props out to Ottawa. And then after that, we moved down south to my family moved down to the Hamilton area. And then I went to school here once upon a time and then moved away. And then when I was married, my wife and I talked about where we would end up again. We said everywhere else other than Hamilton, but still somehow found ourselves back here because of work and all sorts of things. So here we are. So I am really finding that I'm enjoying being in this city. And I'm being continually surprised by how much life and how many interesting things there are here. I work for the public library, and so I also get that glimpse into the city as well. So I've really just sort of taken Hamilton kind of into my creative process, and I found myself more often than not writing about it and loving it. So Saints Unexpected, if you haven't read the book yet, for those watching, was set in downtown Hamilton. Boy is set in the east end of the city, in the suburbs between Winona and Stony Creek, 2 suburbs of the city. And even my next novel, Nothing But Life, which is coming out in February, is going to take place quite close to where I live, in the west end of the city. So what I've really done, and by the way it turned out, not intentionally, I've bracketed the city. I've just really found Hamilton a very inspiring place to write about. And it's a neat place too, because not a lot of people have written fiction here or about here. So it's new in that way. It's exciting and it's fresh. I mean, I'm hoping to give people someplace new to dream about, when they're reading fiction, because we've read about New York, we've read about, Los Angeles and Toronto and all of these big cities, and wonderfully so. They're amazing places, of course, but Hamilton's a bit of an undiscovered gem, I think. It's got a wonderful smoke-filled, gritty industrial history. And it's really trying to find itself now that is not necessarily the core of what makes it what it is. And so it's really an interesting place to be, and I'm finding it an incredible inspiration.
Awesome. One more?
Sure. Yeah,
I
think we got a few more minutes.
Another great question from Nick Overgao. He's asking about the choice to write the book in the present tense is a relatively uncommon choice. What made you choose to write it that way?
Yeah, the tense question. I don't know. It just came out that way. I like the present tense for its immediacy and urgency. It puts you right where not only the action of the story is, but you also are very limited to, you can be limited to what the character is experiencing at any given moment. And so it makes it very immediate, and it makes it very, I think can be quite tense. And in a book like this, I was trying to create a tension. So the present tense where everything happens now. So I walk down the street rather than I walked or I will walk. Present tense makes it very, very immediate. Yeah, it's one of those really controversial choices. No, it's not actually. Some people think of it as a controversial choice. Historically, books were written in the past tense, where things happened and it was remembered. But it's happening more and more frequently where we're playing with all of the tenses, and it's fun to play with. And I think it works for this one. And excuse me, earlier drafts, I did try working with different tenses and different points of view as well. I tried writing it in first person for a while where it was all through boys' eyes, and that didn't click. So it's just one of those narrative choices that you make when you're drafting your work and finally settling into the voice or the story as it's supposed to be told. And then once that settles, off I went, and I never looked back. So.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that's it for our questions so far.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone in audience land, for everything. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the best wishes, and congratulations, of course. Yeah, that's great.
Brent, yeah, thank you for having us all involved tonight. We had a lot of fun. I'm hoping everyone out there had fun as well. It seems like it's so many well-wishers, people all around the world. Brent,
wow,
man, you like that.
Wow, yeah.
There was some from Hong Kong. It was pretty wild. So congratulations on your book and on this thing. Remember the door prizes, of course. Thank you for your questions as well. And I don't know. Buy the book, Brent. I think you want to encourage people, remind them where they can get it.
Yeah, the book's available wherever you buy books. Basically, if you're in Hamilton, write to Epic Books. It's on Lock Street and Sherman. The sequel would be great to support local always. If you buy books online, it's available Amazon, Indigo. It will be available Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com in early or mid-October for my American peeps.
Libraries.
Yeah, libraries. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, that's a great one, actually.
Yeah.
If you place holds at the library, if they get lots of holds, they buy lots of copies. So place a hold at your local library. And if they don't have it in their catalog, encourage them to get it, of course. It's also available in audiobook. So if you are a commuter and you can't read when you're driving or whatever, it's available through Audible, which is really cool. I'm super excited about that. Yeah, and of course, ebooks as well. So you can take it on the plane. And I know that a lot of people who are tuned in right now are from overseas. And partly that's because, of course, I spent time overseas as a teacher. And so I've got a number of friends who I taught with at various places, Kuwait, South Korea, and all sorts of cool places. So props to them who are being here. Yeah. Just awesome. Buy books.
Buy books.
Exactly. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say this as well. I'm going to say, don't just buy my books. Obviously, I want you to, but buy other people's books too. Jamie Tennant is a novelist as well. He's got a book out, and maybe another one soon.
I think so. I just haven't signed the contract, so I don't want to say anything officially.
Yes. Okay, absolutely. But if Dennis, if you could pop up the novel, Jamie's novel there. It should be JT. There it is. So he wrote the novel. Heather mentioned it at the start during his bio introduction, but there's a picture of it. And of course, his website as well. So it's also great when we support other writers. And I know that I wouldn't be here if other writers hadn't helped me along, through my MFA and writers groups and everything. So it's so great to be able to just send that back and encourage everybody to buy. I've seen a few names pop up actually of fellow writers who have books coming out as well. So if you scroll through the comments and you recognize a name or two, or you Google some of those names.
Krista.
Yeah, Liz Harmer. I saw Krista Foss. I saw a number of people, and they're all worthy of your support. And excellent writers. So support them as well, for sure.
Cool. Well, I guess that means we've come to the end, Brent, sadly.
Wow, that went fast.
Thanks, everybody, for showing up tonight, supporting Brent, and for learning some more about Boy and the work that went into it, and pick it up as soon as you can.
Yeah, and I'll just say a quick, I just thank you again to my readers, to Dundurn Press. Thank you to Rachel Spence, who was the acquiring editor for the book. Yeah, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her willingness to take a chance on me. Thank you to my family, my wife, Rosalie, and my girls, Nora and Alita. I love you a lot. Mwah. I couldn't do this without them. They are amazing. They're very, very big part of who I am and what I do. So that's very, very amazing to have them behind me. And I know they're watching right now, and I love you guys. But I also, thinking of my parents, Bill and Grace Van Staalduinen, thank you for all of your inspiration, teaching me that it's okay to read and getting me to read a lot. Yeah, this book is for you as well. My extended family, my in-laws, my mom and dad, Roth, cousins, siblings, in-law, siblings, everybody. Thank you to family. And then finally, again, thank you to everybody who's helped tonight. So Dennis, Elise, Jamie, Epic Jamie. Thank you to Jason and Rachel from Relay Coffee, as well as everybody from Dundurn, Heather Wood, who's my publicist, Sharon, who's running the comments show, and I think I got everybody there. And I think I got everybody. And I'm going to stop now. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I'm so excited that this book is in the world, and I look forward to bugging you all again in a few months' time for Nothing But Life.